This is the Project Cambridge podcast. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Project Cambridge podcast. And I'm delighted you could join us. And whether you're watching us maybe on YouTube or you could be listening on Spotify or Apple, you're all welcome here. So in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to have a chat with and get to know the wonderful, the awesome, the amazing Rachel Hales from 𝗤𝗂𝗿𝗀. Look, she's waving. But firstly, I just need to remind everybody a few of the sort of housekeeping things that we always do. So obviously we're not in a studio. Mishaps happen. My cat's often Amazon deliveries turn up, and they're not usually for me, they're for neighbours. But we're very authentic here and we love it. So I know if you've listened or heard some of our podcasts before, you'll know that a lot of them are based on science and tech. But this one is a little bit different. We're really passionate about telling you about all the people doing wonderful things in Cambridge, bridging the gaps in the city. So what we're going to do today is talk all about that. So, as I said, I've got the lovely Rachel Hales with me today. Some of you will know her. If you don't know her, this is your chance to get to know her. Welcome, Rachel.
Hello. Thank you so much for asking me to be on your podcast. How exciting.
It's great to have you with us today, Rachel. You know, you and I have known each other for quite a while now, and I know we've been planning to do this for some time, haven't we?
Yeah, life is busy. Life is full at the moment, for sure.
It is. And now we're finally doing it. It's a horrible, horrible day in November. It's a horrible Friday morning. It is absolutely tipping it down outside. It's quite likely you're going to hear the rain on the microphones there. So apologies if you hear a strange noise. It probably is the rain banging on the windows. But here we are. So Rachel, I'm going to launch straight into it if it's okay with you. So I'm a Cambridge girl. And I know you are as well, aren't you? And, you know, we both went to school here and we work here. And I think you are actually the first true Cambridge guest that we've had here on the podcast.
Born and bred.
Born and bred, yeah, I think you are. And so your stomping grounds, let's talk about your original stomping grounds, Rachel.
Wow. What, when I was young?
Where were you born? Where'd you go to school?
Oh, okay, yeah. I was thinking, like, when you said stomping grounds, I was thinking, like, where did I go out clubbing? And you know,
we'll get to that.
Where did I do Cambridge? Which actually, I don't know if you remember the old Orleans over by the mill pond. They used to have like music, and I really loved that. And then there was Frames Snooker Club, which was over by, I think, in the Junction area, I remember. That was kind of where we hung out. That was quite good. I grew up actually in Oakington, a little village just outside of Cambridge, with my mum and my dad and my siblings. I have an older sister and an older brother. So I grew up there, went to school in the local village, and then moved on to Impington Village College. And then I went on and did A-levels at Cambridge Regional College.
Wow, so you are a proper local girl. And some of those stomping grounds you talk about, Old Orleans and Frames, yeah, that is a blast from the past.
I loved that house music. We all did. I think that was a little bit of our era, you know, some really good tunes. So, yeah.
Yeah, we probably did actually. We probably passed on Friday and Saturday nights not knowing that we'd be sitting here quite a few years later.
I know. Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure. We probably did. But of course, we never. There's so many people you do that and you go, oh, did you used to go there when you were younger? Yeah, I did. So, yeah, who knew? Who
knew indeed. So let's go on and talk about. So obviously, you said you went to Cambridge Regional College. And first jobs. What was your first job?
I worked in, think about this, Debenhams restaurant upstairs.
Wow.
In Grafton Centre. And I was in the catering department. And then I moved on to a job downstairs in retail. And there was a section at the back of Debenhams. I loved Debenhams. Debenhams was brilliant. I loved all the people. There were different ages and different stages. Such a community. It was brilliant. And I worked at the back of Debenhams for the Arcadia group. Back then, that was like Topshop, Dorothy Perkins. And I just naturally fell into retail whilst I was doing my A-levels. and then left my A-levels and then continued in retail and worked my way up into management in Arcadia Group. So that was Dorothy Perkins, Topshop, Principals, Evans. And then the last job before I left retail, I was a manager of 𝗤𝗂𝗍𝗄𝗏 Cambridge that was moved over. It was in Trinity Street. They had a refurb. I took it through the refurbishment. And I was a store training manager for the company. So any new managers who would come to the company came. And I really, really loved that. But I did get a bit sick of retail.
I definitely would have seen you in Debenhams as well, both in the shop, on the shop floor, and in the cafe, because I can remember going in there when I was about 13 years old, and this is really bad, Rachel, but some friends and I, we were quite naughty, and in the cafe there, we swapped all of the sugar in the pot for salt. And how naughty is that? I was
imagine if I was one of the people that had to deal with your error or deal with the customer that was really unhappy. Jen, that's naughty. But thanks. We all did little naughty things like that, didn't we? Really.
That was my confession, Rachel. Oh dear.
Like now, everyone knows.
Yeah. So then you had your job at 𝗤𝗂𝗍𝗄𝗏 and doing your training there, and then you started working at the YMCA with neat people, didn't you? And I don't know if everybody knows what neat and the YMCA do. Can you just put a bit of context around that for us, Rachel?
Yeah, I mean, I think NEAT is not a great acronym. It's kind of like a bit of a negative thing. It's not in education, employment and training. It's young people where school, education, life has meant that they have not continued in their education like they should have done. And these are young people where they're prison leavers, they may have been bullied at school, they may have been asked or excluded from school. And at the time, the YMCA delivered a training program for 16 to 19-year-olds to really build their confidence and build their skills and get them back into the world of work and doing things positively. So we would teach job skills, life skills. So I would write the whole scheme of work for job skills, interviews, writing a CV, and then we would do life skills, just generally cooking, all those kind of things. And then we did literacy and numeracy. I cannot believe I taught young people to pass their key skills in English and maths when maths for me was a horrendous subject and I had a horrendous teacher. Just goes to show what you can overcome when you have difficult things. And I was there teaching young people, maybe because I struggled with maths, I felt I could relate. So I did that shortly before YMCA. Actually, when I left retail, I actually was an MVQ assessor in the bit between. I worked for a company working with 16 to 25-year-olds, getting an apprenticeship. So my whole sort of career started going into this, helping people, empowering, particularly young people. And in my spare time, I did a lot of outreach and youth work, walking the streets of Arbery, really trying to just engage with young people that were kind of not doing positive things and just to really encourage them. So I was naturally falling into quite an area of community, young people. And that's where I was at YMCA. It was great. It was tough. It was hard trying to teach a group of 10 to 20 young people where they all came with their multiple challenges, but it was such an honor, really transformative part of my life.
Wow. And that's another similarity between you and I, because you mentioned walking the streets in Arbery. And as you know, Rachel, Project Cambridge HQ is actually here in King's Hedges, Arbery area. So so very, very familiar. I wasn't living here then, obviously, when you used to walk those streets, but another interesting thing there. I want to just touch on, because obviously you were very young when you started. You had this attitude of caring for people in the community and reaching out, and I think this all started as how you were brought up at home from a young age, wasn't it? Can you tell us a little bit about that upbringing and why you think it sort of pushed you in this direction of helping people?
Yeah, I think experiences in life have an impact on you. And I think particularly for me, and when we grew up in our household, my parents were very open house mentality. We had a snooker table in the house. Young people would come and play. Obviously, I had an older brother, so his friends would come along, which was always really nice, as the younger sister. They'd all and the community would come. So that was one example of just my parents saying, we'd rather young people come and hang out where we are. I was quite young at that point, but my earliest memory of my parents really being quite sacrificial was when they found out that there was a young guy who had been in prison for armed robbery for 6 years, and he was homeless and he had nowhere to go. And my parents said, we're going to let him come and live in our family home. And his name was Anthony, shortened to Tony. But if you really wanted to go by his proper name, nickname, it was Spider, because he had a spider's web up his neck and it went into his ear as a tattoo. Obviously not a real one. And it went into his neck. And he lived in our family home for a number of years. And that was a really profound example, and a very real example of my parents modelling, if you've got the time, the skills, the resource, the finance to help improve somebody's life, why wouldn't you? And that stayed with me for quite a long time, and moved me kind of quite into what I'm doing now, really.
That's an amazing story, and as you say, it's really sort of kind of shaped how you feel about other people, and being that kind of, I don't know, good Samaritan. That might not be the right term, but crossing the road to help somebody and not walking past them. And I think that's kind of the way I was brought up as well, through similar things at home too. So following working at YMCA, you then went to work at Romsey Mill, which is down the bottom of Mill Road, isn't it? So
yeah.
If you're from Cambridge, you'll know all about Romsey Mill, most likely if you've lived here a few years and grown up here. But for the people that don't know about Romsey Mill, Rachel, can you explain what it is and what they do?
Yeah, so I obviously was at the YMCA working with young people, and then a job came up. They approached me about working with teenage parents, young mums and young dads under the age of 25. So I moved over to there and started a job there. So Romsey Mill, a Christian charity, has been going, I think over 30 years, really embedded in the heart of the community. And what was ironic is then when I would go to Romsey Mill, I would be then coming across some of those young people that I met on the streets of Arbery. They would be coming into Romsey Mill. And what Romsey Mill does is works with children, young people and families facing a lot of challenge, a lot of adversity and lack of opportunity in the city. A lot of what we talk about, the inequality in Cambridge, I have worked with directly those children, those young people and those families where Cambridge hasn't always been an easy place for them. And so that's what Romsey Mill does. Very forward thinking, working with young people for a long time, but they also work with young people on the autistic spectrum. They work with families, and I was involved in doing lots of work with families, with children of all ages, where life was a bit tough. And it was a real honour to work there. And they do brilliant work, and I'm still connected with them. They're in the network that I run now because I'm really passionate about the work they do, as many of the charitable organisations in our city.
They are amazing.
They're brilliant.
We'll obviously put a link to Romsey Mill on the show notes here so people can have a look at them. So then you did something pretty cool at that point of your career as well, didn't you? Because you went off somewhere much, much warmer than certainly where we are today. Yes. You went over to Australia, didn't you? And that trip was pivotal in sowing that seed for what you did afterwards. So can you walk us through that trip? Why you went there, where you travelled to, and then how that led to Get Synergised being formed?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So I think if we move slightly back, I was in my 30s. I was heading towards 40, pivotal time in your life. I was single. I wanted to be married, but that wasn't looking like it was on the cards, and that was fine. Didn't feel my life was defined by marrying and settling down necessarily. It was just doing what I felt I was gifted and called to do, really, and what my skills were. So I spent a good sort of 5 years before I hit 40 really thinking about what do I want to do next. And with Romsey Mill's blessing and support, I spent quite a bit of time working on my skills, and then I said, look, I think it's time for me to move on. And I really loved using my skills to make a difference and help improve somebody's life. And I couldn't naturally see a fit of where I would go next. I've been in the charity community sector for a very long time. And it was when I did a course with the Cambridge Building Society, who are my clients now. Fast forward how many years? That was 2017. Fast forward all those years, they're my clients now, and they're in my network, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. But we ran a course for families to help them think about how they could manage their money better. You know, these families were on universal credit, money was challenging. And this partnership sparked something in me. I thought, I want to see businesses coming into the community to share their knowledge, their skills, the resource, a bit like what my parents modeled to me, to actually work together. And they would have struggled to deliver that without the support of us as the youth and community workers with the families, and helping them engage in it and making sure is pitched correctly. And also for the business, they were sharing their knowledge that we as a charity didn't have. What a brilliant project it was. And it was something from there that kicked off, alongside thinking about what are my skills? What do I love? I love bringing people together. I love networking. I love getting out. I love helping people to improve their lives. And if I can connect businesses with the community more engagingly and meaningfully, I know that the resources that we can create together, that synergy, which is greater than the parts on your own, just the charity trying to deliver that, would be really hard. That collaboration was brilliant. And it was at that point when I left and said, I'm going to travel Australia for 2.5 months, which I'll tell you where I went in a minute, pivotal time in my life. I really played on this kind of, I wonder if I could be this bridge, this matchmaker, the Tinder of the business charity world, connecting businesses with charities. But it wasn't that. It was more than that as well. It was introducing, education. It was introducing local authority, public sector, the colleges, everybody saying, well, actually, Cambridge is a brilliant city. We have the inequality. We have people struggling. Let's join forces together and let's create something better to improve the lives of the people I was working with. And so that was a seed that born in me back in 2017, 18. And so I went traveling Australia and I absolutely loved it. If anyone hasn't been, I would encourage you to go. It was really brilliant. I stayed between Sydney, Wollongong, Newcastle and Cairns. I had two cousins who lived out there, and I was out there for 2.5 months.
Wow. It sounds like a great trip. I haven't been out there, but like you, I've got cousins and need to get myself into gear at some point and actually get out there, Rachel. So yeah. Then you came back. You came back to cold old Cambridge after your 2.5 months in Cairns and Sydney and Wollongong?
Wollongong. Bit more
Wollongong.
Rural part of, Wollongong. Yeah, a bit more rural part of. I definitely preferred the beach side. But different parts of it it was lovely, but Wollongong,
yeah. And you mentioned also that you kind of didn't think that you were going to get married, but I know that you are married. So when did you meet that lovely husband of yours?
Oh, the lovely Ed.
Lovely Ed.
So funnily enough, there is a funny story to this. Being like a bit of a serial networker, I was in a church at the time, still in the same church, Cambridge Community Church, does some great work in the community, lots of community outreach. They're in our network as well. They deliver a thing called C3 Community Impact and do lots of work with families. And they've got a cooking course at the moment, helping single parents build their skills, which is brilliant. So I was in the church, and the church is quite big. And how do you meet someone? Faith has been a big part of my life. And so I set up a social network for 30s and 40s to get people connecting. I felt a little bit disconnected at that stage of life. I wasn't married. I wasn't what you think you would be in your sort of 30s, 40s, perhaps what the world tells you should fit. But I, did enjoy life, was quite happy being independent, but do want to meet somebody. And I set up this social network, and I went traveling Australia. Little did I know my husband had started to come into the church. I then came back in the February, and we met in the April and became friends through that network that I'd set up. And a number of years later, decided that we would get married, and here we are. So, some things come to those who wait. And so, we've been married since 2020. So we were COVID wedding people. That wasn't easy, but here we are today.
Wow. No, I didn't know it was a COVID wedding.
Gosh, yeah, it was. We had two because of the whole one year and then one in 2021, which was the white wedding because we couldn't do everything. But quite nice having a small amount. And when you've lived in Cambridge all your life and you're born and bred here, right, you make a lot of friends and connections. So my wedding was looking to be quite extensive. So COVID was quite a blessing. Didn't have to, it was a smaller budget, but we did miss having those people there for sure. But it was nice actually having a little intimate wedding. I guess when you get older, maybe sometimes that's what people do.
Yeah, no, I bet it saved on the wedding cost significantly there for you and Ed. And would you say that you and Ed are kind of kindred spirits in terms of the helping people, or does he kind of leave that side of things to you? Because I know you're also, as a husband and wife should be, you've been very supportive of Ed over the years. He hasn't had an easy ride of things, has he?
Yeah, no. A couple of years ago, Ed had a mental health breakdown, which I think he's quite open to talk about, which is great, and share his story. And I spoke on a podcast about that. And I think caring as a partner of somebody that's going through a mental health crisis is very, very difficult. He's doing really well. And I think we don't talk enough about mental health. And I know Fiona's doing the brilliant event this year around men and men's well-being and men's mental health, and getting men together and talking about that, which is great. And I think opening up the conversation. So yeah, that was quite tough, but I guess that's what you do in a marriage. You just support each other, and it's not easy, but we are both very we care about people passionately, and where we can, we want to help. And Ed is very much like that. He has he's very generous of his time, of his resource, of his skills. And that's part of the reason why I fell in love with him, because he reminded me very much of my father in that respect. Oh, I'm going to get a bit 𝗕𝗂𝗄𝗏. Yeah, I always wanted a man that had the generosity like my father, and Ed has that in bucket loads. So yeah.
Oh, I hope you're okay, showing your emotion there, Rachel, as well. I think that's really important too, because, and I hope it's okay to touch on this, but you lost your dad very suddenly, didn't you, as well? How you were quite young.
Yeah, I was 24. I was still at home. My siblings had moved home. I was still at home. Yeah, he just died suddenly of a heart attack at home, which was really difficult. It was definitely a very strong knit family, and yeah, it was tough. My mum then had shortly after a mental health breakdown as well, and she ended up in full-born hospital for a good number of weeks. So I think as a family that was quite traumatic. So we I've experienced quite a bit of trauma in my life, really. But I think that helps you have a lot of empathy and a lot of resilience. My mum is an absolute powerhouse. She rebuilt her life, ended up working at Daily Bread for a number of years, and she runs the food bank in 𝗤𝗏𝗏. She's not slowing down. She's in her 70s. She's still modeling that compassion and that generous heart, which is amazing. So yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. And you're absolutely right there. I think going through trauma in your life absolutely enhances the amount of empathy that you can have for lots of different people in different scenarios. And you really live and breathe that, Rachel. I'm so glad your mum's doing well with Daily Bread. Yeah, that's around the corner from here as well, and doing a food bank in 𝗤𝗏𝗏. So I'm glad
we love our mums, don't we? We
do indeed. We do indeed. Mine's a bit of a powerhouse, like yours as well. I'm sure she'll like a shout out here, because she listens and watches the podcast religiously.
Hi, Mum.
Her name's Frankie. To everyone, Frankie that does the artwork, just pop along to the Project Cambridge podcast website, and you'll see some of her artwork there. So there's your shout out.
Aww.
So now that we know a little bit about your background and your family and how you got to where you are today, I want to talk about Get Synergized. So obviously you came back from Australia, set up Get Synergized, and then shortly after that the With Purpose network. And I know there's a difference in those two things and why they are separate. Can you talk to us about, firstly Get Synergized, how it started, and then how that sort of developed into the With Purpose network as a product?
Yeah, well, obviously I came back from Australia and I didn't have work then, so I was doing lots of different projects at the same time as developing the concept of what the business would look like. Spent quite a bit of time chatting to businesses around what is it they struggle with in terms of connecting with their community, what do they find hard, listening to them, doing a bit of market research, I guess. And then I did the same for charitable organisations. I know you want to connect with businesses. What do you find challenging and difficult? And so I started doing that. And the first bit I did was started to train charities, which is part of my consultancy. How do you work with businesses more meaningfully and sustainably? And so that was the consultancy side of Get Synergized, which I absolutely love and still deliver training. And then I wanted to start doing more consultancy with businesses. Again, that consultancy part of the Get Synergized, where businesses, want to get started on that responsible business journey, but don't often know where to start, thinking it's got to be really massive. You've got to have these big like TOMS or Thrive or Loop or HACT, which are all acronyms for a social value measurement tool or social value portal. And everyone thinks, gosh, I've got to go from community from here to here. And actually, I work with them around where do you start? Where do you begin on that responsible business journey? Because we know that a lot more investors, procurement, customers, employees are expecting companies to be responsible. So that was the sort of consultancy bit. But what sort of stopped everything in its tracks was COVID. Yeah. So I started everything and then I couldn't do anything. No one wanted training. It wasn't a priority for everyone. Everyone was just hands to the pump. And so I spent most of the COVID time helping It Takes a City at that point. I was doing some consultancy with them. And they basically said, Rachel, can you repurpose your work and can you help with the operation of getting food around to the 120 rough sleepers in all the hotels? And can you organise that and sort out the volunteers, make sure all the rough sleepers are getting all the help they want and coordinate with all the other services? So I did that for like 6 months and that just stopped everything. And it wasn't until post-COVID that I started on the with purpose section of my business model, which was the connecting bit. So I do the consultancy with the businesses, I do the consultancy with the charities, but it was the middle bit. They want to talk to each other. And so I started some networking events, which were brilliant. Massive shout out to BMW, Barron's BMW, Kevin Appleton, of being a real significant support in those ideas and supporting financially and of his time and his knowledge to help get those going. And so we did some in-person networking. And then I basically said to the community, what do you want? And they said, we want a place and space that we can connect in person and online. And that's where the With Purpose Network birthed, and from significant support from Mills and Reeve, who have been, again, social value partners with BMW to support with that, and the City Council and the Combined Authority. I've been able to put some investment in to really grow that network. And I'm really proud that we've got coming up to 100. I think we've got 90 members moving into the 100 in the last kind of year and a bit. Just businesses and charities wanting to come together to network and connect and share things. And that's a bit of a long way around it, but I hope that kind of sets the scene of what we do.
It really does. And I'm so pleased that you've got backing from such big names there. You mentioned Barron's BMW and Mills and Reeves and so on. And you know, that you've got the backing there as well from local, service providers, which is amazing, because what you do is so important. And I don't think businesses don't all understand what this social responsibility is all about. And, a few years ago, nobody had heard the acronym CSR, corporate social responsibility. And they're not even thinking about it. It's just take. But now it's so apparent that people and companies, they want to give back. Just explain to us a little bit about these acronyms, CSR, ESG, what they mean, why is it important for companies to get involved?
Yeah, and I think that's where people go, oh, I don't know where to start. I guess we've always talked about philanthropic activity, CSR. It was a nice thing for a company to do, sometimes very sort of, oh, let's just help a charity by doing something little. And now it's moved a lot. I think post-COVID, it's taught us that we have to get all sectors working together if we're going to improve communities that benefit businesses and everyone else. So you've now got much more regulation around what we call ESG, which is environmental, social and governance. Investors ask for it. How are you as a business being responsible in those areas? And some companies don't have to report on that, some do. But there is a big push for businesses to really look at positively and negatively how they're having a detrimental or positive impact on society. And I think we get confused by social value, ESG, corporate social responsibility. My view is they're all acronyms. They're all things that we all look at. But ultimately, it's how can you be a responsible business? And I work with businesses to cover what all of those mean in a really simple way to say, are you a business that wants to make money and care about your community because you know it's good for business? And I do the bit where it says, well, let me help you work that through. It doesn't have to be massive, just start somewhere. And I think more and more businesses are realizing that from, like I said, the customer, investor, winning business, procurement, social value contracts with the local authority, you now have to show how you're delivering social value. And that social value is basically, simply said, making a difference for people and communities in the area that you work. And so really for a business, it's how can you be responsible? How can you help improve lives? It's going back to, the model that my parents taught me. If you've got the time, skills, resource and finance to improve lives, but it's not 300, it's not seasonal. It's not when we get this pang of, oh, it's Christmas and gosh, we, like we've just had, gosh, it's Christmas and, oh, we need to do something. No, I'm working with businesses that realize that social responsibility is embedded in the DNA and culture, right at board level, right to front ground employee. And it's using your skills and your knowledge and your resource broader than a bake sale and they're brilliant, they generate money, or a fundraiser. How can we use our skills, mentoring, website design, to really help those charitable organisations working frontline and community groups and local authority to work together to improve resource and make a difference? And we get caught up in it, and it's quite simple really, but that's what I help businesses with.
And as you say, Rachel, it's not all about giving a chunk of money, because times are tough at the moment for lots and lots of businesses, or they might have a particular charity that they've always supported for years. It's not always about giving money. And these resources, it could be as simple as lending a room in your company building so that a charity can have a quarterly meeting or something like that, or just come together for a chat. It could be as simple as that.
Our network, we have an exchange hub, and in there we have needs and offers, we have room space, we have grants, we have companies, charities that can take volunteers. I think one of the things we try and do, because we do the consultancy either side, we're really understanding how both sectors like to work. Part of what we're trying to do is break down those understandings. Businesses should come listening to the community on how they help, not thinking that they have the answer and know, because the community are the experts in the field. And charities needing to look at business to build relationships first, not just going in and saying, can I have £10,000? And it's really breaking down those barriers of how both sectors work, including the local authority. And that's a big part of what we do, is really actually at the centre of it. If I'm honest with you, it's not transactional, it's relational. It's all about relationships. And that's why our networking events that form part of the With Purpose network are so significant in people connecting, because people connect with people. You can't take that away. And if it's just transactional online, you miss something. And so we try and couple both ways in which people can connect in person and online with the decision makers in both organisations. That's a problem. Charities always want to talk to I say charities, and we're talking in my network, registered charities and social enterprises. They want to talk with the right people in the business. It wastes so much time trying to do that. But what I do is create the space to talk to the right person. It's huge. Yeah. And they can connect, find that synergy, find shared values, look at mutual challenges. How can we work together? It's beautiful. Win-win. It's great.
And the value that this can have for businesses who engage in this kind of social responsibility is huge. And people don't realise, even in terms of being able to build your team and attract talent, there's some people, and I think definitely like ourselves, Rachel, now, I wouldn't want to work for a business that is not doing some kind of social giving back to the community that it is in fact taking from, if it, that local area. I wouldn't want to, and I know lots of other people that's part of the value of working for somewhere. And on the flip side, your potential customers, they've got the same attitude. They want to work with businesses and procure from businesses who are giving back responsibly, socially, don't they?
Oh yeah, it's huge, and I think it differentiates you as a company to look at what you're doing, but again, making it unique. Like, what is it that you can create to solve a social problem as a business that's not just the general old what everyone is familiar with, but maybe you can innovate and create something really unique to solve a problem. We've got such knowledge in the city, from the university, from the tech world. There's so many challenges within the services and the people that need help that we see, that I've seen, that I've worked with. There are solutions we can find within ourselves, within our community. And if we share that, it's huge. And imagine if you're a business that comes up with something innovative and pioneer, and people go, wow, that's brilliant. And I think, going back to what you were saying about employees, within our network, we have 𝗤𝗏𝗍, a branding and marketing company, a really great team there. And 2 of their staff, we have a mentoring program. We have a business leaders mentoring charity leaders in our network as well. Something we've been really enjoying doing. We've got �11𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗶𝗄𝗏, a really big accountancy firm wanting to engage locally. They have been a massive part of our network as well, a massive support. The team there, I've been working with them for a long time. They have 3 of their team offering mentoring to business leaders around to non-profit leaders around financial sustainability, growth, business acumen. But going back to 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗶, obviously they're specialising in branding and marketing. They're working with 2 charities, 2 of their team with 2 charities to really help. Bigger than that, they're helping charities with their marketing and brand strategy. Incredible. That would cost a charity so much money. But the big part of it is the difference I know that it is having on those employees. The way in which they feel massively enriched, hugely privileged and honoured to help these organisations doing great work. They are finding themselves learning and growing and being exposed to things that are very different than what they've known before. And that massively enriches an employee's awareness of the world, its local environment, but actually I think adds something to them as in the way that they work and they are within the culture of the business. It's huge.
It is huge. It is huge. Now, Rachel, we are sort of a little bit, we're running low on time here, but I do have a few questions that I do still want to throw at you, actually.
Yeah.
So we'll just plough through those as quickly as we can. So firstly, where's Get Synergised in 10 years' time?
Well, we are going to be looking at running networking events in Peterborough, because our network is Cambridgeshire, and we have a really good, loads of our members are straddled both Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. So we're going to be moving and doing some networking events out there. We've been having conversations and working with other counties around responsible business and talking to other areas. My idea would be to go into areas where this is needed, where there needs to be this business, charity, local authority connection. And if there's a gap there and it's needed and I can work collaboratively with people there, then that's great. So I've been having conversations around Peterborough, been chatting to some guys in 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, so southeast. The other thing I want to do is, a lot of the work I do is around strategy and around knowledge sharing. And so I'm wanting to develop more e-learning so that everyone can have access to it. I work with businesses across the whole of the UK. So I want to work with more businesses about developing their responsible business strategy and doing that. I've been doing it with a number of businesses and I'm keen to do that with more. So yeah, more of the same, more of improving lives. Just do what we do really well and bring people together.
I'm really excited about those plans to scale. And, you know, if I can do anything to help you, Rachel, just give me a shout, because I'd love to help where I can there.
I will.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will.
You shouldn't have offered.
So if you've, I'll put you on the spot here. Have you watched or listened to any of Project Cambridge podcast, the earlier episodes? Be honest.
No, I haven't.
You haven't. Okay. So what I love, that's okay. You're very busy.
I feel bad, but I think that's not because I don't want to. I think with everybody at the moment, it is just so relentless. Yeah. And I was thinking the other day, I want to do more audio listening. So I think that's the thing I want to be doing. So I think you'll be the first to go on to that, and I'll tell you when I've done it.
New Year's resolution.
Well, even before then.
Anyway,
yes.
So one of the things I do, if you had listened to before, you'd know this, but one of the questions that I do like to ask guests, Rachel, is if they could rewind the clock back to those early days when they didn't know what the future held, perhaps when you were hanging out in frames or clubbing down in 𝗤𝗄𝗍𝗲𝗔𝗍 or whatever it was called. What would you tell yourself? What would you tell that young Rachel working in Debenhams?
There's a phrase I really love, and it sort of like permeates throughout my whole life, is comparison is the thief of joy. And I think thinking back about when I really had that epiphany moment of what am I good at? What do I love? What do I want to do with my one precious life? I think if I'd have really tapped into learning to be me, what I'm good at, not thinking about what anybody else is doing, and staying in my lane and what I feel my unique contribution to the world is, I think I'd have found that much easier than looking at everyone else and thinking, well, that they look good. And particularly growing up in Cambridge, I didn't do university. I felt that pressure myself in terms of, am I intelligent enough? Gosh, I've lived here all my life, and I'm running a business now. And if you'd have told me I was doing that years ago, I never thought I was clever enough to do that. It's not about clever. It's about using your gifts and your talents. And so I think if you're for a young person, is to really tap into who they are, be happy in their skin, identify what they're good at, find their unique contribution. Don't try and be like anybody else, because comparison is the thief of joy. If you start comparing yourself to others, you lose something. The moment you stay in your lane and live out what you're meant to do, that's where you really live for purpose. So that's what I would say.
I love that. Comparison is the thief of joy. Another similarity we have, Rachel, didn't go to university either, lived for many years thinking, am I clever enough to do very much at all? You know, because I haven't got that education, which Cambridge is so well associated with. But, you know, we've both got our own businesses today, both doing well, both being and are, and will continue to be very, very successful. No, I love that. And I'm very grateful for you. I'm not alone in thinking how wonderful you are. I'm very grateful to have you in my life, because I think you're absolutely brilliant and a force to be reckoned with, Rachel. Another question for you is, so you and I do quite a lot of co-working. In fact, we've done some co-working together with Purpose Network, which you organise, which are really, really good co-working days if anybody ever thinks about going to them. We've done them at PwC before, haven't we? Where is your favourite place or venue to co-work with others, Rachel, and why?
Well, I should say, because my network does co-working, I should say PwC. I do love that. Which is great. Anybody's welcome to come to that. We want to create community where if you're feeling a bit isolated, just come hang out with us. You can find the dates on the website. That's not for just our members. That's for anyone. 𝗣𝗂𝘗 Hotel, for sure. I think the reason being is they're like my family. I think over COVID, I wasn't in a bubble. Everyone was bubbling differently. I wasn't with Ed at the time. He was with his mum. And they became like a little bit of a second family and home to me, and they've become really good friends. They're part of the network. They've been talking about outcomes from the network, really. They've been delivering some really great stuff. I've been working with them on their ESG around their partnerships with local organisations, and they've done a brilliant project recently with Cambridge Sustainable Food around cooking and helping older men to increase their confidence and reduce isolation through using food, and their chefs have been going out there. It's a brilliant case study, so much so that they've been entered into the Positive Hospitality Awards for their company, for Ascendi Group. They're the only one of the UK to get through out of 37 applications across UK and Europe, I believe, and only the one out of UK. So that's a massive achievement, and they connected through the network. Real privilege. So not only are they great members of my network, not only are they delivering really great stuff, they've become a place I love working. They look after me. I love going there. I love the people. It's people, isn't it? That's what I love. I've got many others. I can't believe you put me on the spot and made me ask, but they've got a special place in my heart for many reasons. So 𝗣𝗂𝘁 Hotel, big shout out to them.
And leading on from that question, I'll put you on the spot even further here, because I love doing that in the podcast. And don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to jump out of a plane. I've already asked you that one.
Yeah,
who's your favourite person to co-work with?
Oh no, really?
Don't say me, because we wouldn't get anything done.
Oh, you're joking. I can't believe you're asking me that. I'll tell you who. Gemma Brown. Do you know Gemma Brown?
Yep.
Coach. She is, I've known Gemma from early days, probably pre-COVID times. She's a coach. I tell you what, she just, you know me, I'm a bundle of energy. I do like my own space, just in case everyone thinks I'm a permanent extrovert. I am not. I get my energy being on my own. Gemma is this brilliant, just, I can even feel it now, just like she's not here, but she's got this beautiful, calming sort of tone about her. You know, when you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, she's become a great friend, somebody I love working with, somebody we share learnings with each other, but she just hears you and listens. And because I'm a verbal processor, I do need to talk things out, and she just comes with this calmness. So working with her, I just feel like everything's all right in the world. You know what it is, running a business like we do, creating something is, I find it tough. I feel the responsibility of it, and I want to do it really well. And sometimes you just need those people you can talk to. So Gemma Brown's my lady. Gemma Brown Coaching. She's absolutely fab. So she
is fab. I recently attended one of her online coaching sessions, actually, and I thought she was really, really good. I know her sister pretty well as well. But everybody go and ask everybody go and ask Gemma to co-work. She'll love that.
Like, oh, people.
And I'm going to throw one more funny question in here, and I might hold you to this one. Favorite karaoke song?
I love singing, but oh my gosh. Oh,
come on, 5 seconds.
I don't know.
Are you an It's Raining Men kind of girl, or a Proud Mary?
I Will Survive, or an Anastasia one. Yeah, I love Anastasia. I love Pink. I love singing myself. I've dabbled in that a little bit. Yeah, one of those. But yeah,
we'll get you on the karaoke mic soon, Rachel. So finally, and this is the really, really important question: how can people get in touch with you if they're interested in finding out more about what you do and getting involved?
Brilliant. I'm really active on LinkedIn, so I'd love you to connect with me on LinkedIn, Rachel Hales, and my website, www.getsynergized.com. It's got all the things we do on there, all the services, ways to connect. Sign up to the newsletter, hear what we're doing, what we're getting up to, or just drop me a message and let's chat.
Cool. Everybody get in touch with Rachel. As you can see and hear, she is brilliant. She is wonderful. How do we get this woman an OBE? If anybody knows King Charles, give him a shout. Let's get this woman the letters after her name that she deserves, I think. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been absolutely brilliant to hear about what you're doing, and the personal level that you spoke about, I think, is so important for people to understand why you do what you do. And knowing you has really made me think differently about how I combine my work with doing good. And it's actually, as you know, one of the reasons that Project Cambridge is here today. So thank you personally from me too, Rachel.
Oh, thank you for everything you do as well, and raising the profile of people within Cambridge doing great work. It's all about working together, and there's some brilliant people doing great stuff. So thank you. And I love having you as my friend, and I'm so glad we connected back when we did. And yeah, all that synergy. It's brilliant.
Ah, lovely. So just to wind up the podcast for today, thank you everybody for joining us. Really hope you're enjoying these podcasts, and I hope Rachel gets to listen to some of the other ones. I'm really looking I love making these. Don't forget, you can check all of the podcasts out. So you can check them out on YouTube, you can check them out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the Project Cambridge website. Give us some likes, give us some reviews, give us some 5 stars, whatever it is. We would love that. Coming back soon with some more very, very special guests, some that I'm massively excited about. Can't wait to interview people and put these ones out. And obviously, if you have any questions today for Rachel, drop them in the comments box. We'll make sure she sees them, and she'd love to get back to you on those. So thank you very much, wherever you're listening or watching us from, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.
This has been the Project Cambridge podcast.